Imagine you wake up tomorrow, open your phone, and there's a notification from the creators. Simulation reboot in 10 minutes. Please save your progress. Sounds like a sci-fi prank, right? Here's the weird part. Some of the smartest philosophers and scientists on Earth think this might not be that far from the truth. Today we're diving into one of the strangest ideas in modern thought, the simulation theory. The possibility that you, this video, and everything you've ever known are running inside a cosmic computer. Stick around to the end, because we're going to look at the famous argument that we're probably simulated, the experiments and theories that try to test it, and what it would actually mean for your life if it were true. Ready? Let's press start. You've probably heard of The Matrix, the 1999 movie where Neo discovers that the world he lives in is actually a giant simulation built by machines. That was fiction. But a few years later, a real philosopher, Nick Bostrom at the University of Oxford, dropped a paper with a terrifying question. Are you living in a computer simulation? This wasn't a movie script. It was published in a serious philosophy journal, the Philosophical Quarterly, in 2003. And it kicked off a global debate among philosophers, physicists, and tech billionaires. People like Elon Musk have publicly said that the odds we're in base reality, a non-simulated universe, might be billions to 1 against. So what exactly is this simulation theory, and why do smart people take it seriously? Let's imagine the future for a second. Humans, or some advanced civilization, get insanely good at computing. Not like my PC runs Fortnite at 120 FPS good, we're talking galaxy-sized supercomputers that can simulate universes atom by atom. At that point, future civilizations might be able to run Ancestor simulations, ultra-realistic simulations of people like us, living ordinary lives, completely unaware they're in a simulation. That's the setup behind Bostrom's argument. Here's his famous trilemma in simple terms. He says at least one of these must be true. Civilizations almost always wipe themselves out before becoming that advanced. Advanced civilizations don't run many simulations of beings like us. Almost everyone like us is living in a simulation. That's it. Those are the 3 doors. If you think advanced civilizations will exist, and they will run tons of simulations, then statistically, we're probably in one of the simulations, not in the original base reality. You're not supposed to like that conclusion. You're just supposed to admit, okay, that's disturbingly logical. Now you might be thinking, sure, philosophers love thought experiments, but do real scientists buy any of this? In 2016, the American Museum of Natural History in New York hosted a whole debate called, Is the Universe a Simulation? It was part of the Isaac Asimov Memorial Debate Series. On stage, physicists, cosmologists, and philosophers, including people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, seriously discussing whether we're in a cosmic computer. Some, like Tyson, have said they wouldn't be shocked if the answer were yes. Others were much more skeptical, pointing out we don't yet have a clear way to prove it either way. So no, the scientific community hasn't agreed that we're in a simulation. But the idea is taken seriously enough to be debated at high-profile events and discussed in major outlets like Scientific American and The Guardian. And the conversation hasn't stopped. In fact, it's getting weirder. Okay, here's where it gets fun. Can you actually test if we're in a simulation? One idea comes from physicist Silas Beane and colleagues. They asked, if the universe were a simulation, how would it be implemented? They imagined a universe simulated on a grid, like how we simulate particles in physics on a lattice. If that were true, there might be a maximum energy or weird directional pattern in ultra-high energy cosmic rays. Tiny particles smashing into Earth at insane energies. If the universe runs on a grid, maybe at extreme scales, we'd start to see the pixels. So far, this is more of a theoretical proposal than a confirmed discovery. We haven't found any clear pixelation of space-time that everyone agrees is evidence of a simulation. But Beane's work matters because it's one of the first attempts to turn the simulation theory into something testable, not just late-night dorm room philosophy. And then comes a brand new twist. In 2025, physicist Melvin Vopson published a paper in AIP Advances asking a wild question. Could gravity itself be evidence that the universe works like a computer? Vopson works in a field called information physics, which treats physical reality as structured information. In his new paper, he argues something like this, simplified. Think of the universe as a giant computer. Computers like to compress data to save space and processing power. If the universe does something similar, objects might be pulled together to reduce information entropy, basically to simplify the data of the universe. In this view, gravity isn't just a mysterious pull. It's what happens when the universe is trying to organize and compress information as efficiently as possible, almost like optimizing a cosmic hard drive. Vopson suggests this kind of information-based gravity could be consistent with a computational universe, and therefore with the idea of a simulation. Important note, this is highly speculative. It's one proposal, and physicists are far from agreeing it's correct. But it shows how modern research is starting to blend information theory, gravity, and simulation ideas in a serious way. Let's bring this back to you for a second. If you were a character in an ultra-realistic video game, what would it feel like? Well, honestly, exactly like it does right now. You'd have memories. You'd feel emotions. You'd see a consistent, rule-based world, our physics. You'd have no direct access to outside the game. Philosopher David Chalmers, who's written a lot about consciousness and the simulation hypothesis, argues that even if we are in a simulation, our experiences would still be real to us. If a simulated brain can support consciousness, then your joys, pains, friendships, they all still matter. In a 2024 paper, Chalmers explores how we might take the simulation hypothesis seriously without letting it destroy the meaning of our lives. He points out that whether the underlying hardware is atoms or bits, consciousness could still arise from complex patterns. In other words, if this is a simulation, it's not fake life. It's just life, running on a different kind of machine. Now for the most MrBeast-Style question of the whole video. If this is a simulation, can we escape it? Computer scientist Roman Yampolsky has actually written a paper called How to Escape from the Simulation and has discussed it in interviews and articles. His ideas are very speculative, but here are some of the escape plans people have proposed. Overloading the system, billions of people meditating or doing something synchronized and weird to stress the simulation's resources. Creating paradoxes, trying to generate logical contradictions or unsimulated events that the simulator can't handle. Sending messages upwards, trying to communicate with whoever is running the simulation, like tapping on the glass of an aquarium. So far, there's zero evidence that any of this works. And Yampolsky himself admits that it might be impossible to know whether we've succeeded or even whether escape is a good idea. Think about Neo in The Matrix. Leaving the simulation did not make his life easier. And here's another twist. If the simulators are powerful enough to reboot or modify the simulation, we might have already tried to escape and had our memory wiped. Creepy? Absolutely. Proven? Not at all. This is firmly in the realm of philosophical sci-fi, not established science. Not everyone loves this topic. Physicist Sabine Hossenfelder has been very blunt about it. She's argued that the simulation hypothesis doesn't really explain anything, and that there's no good scientific reason to focus on it. She calls the idea that we live in a computer simulation trivially wrong in the way people often think about it. A 2024 article in Scientific American also takes a step back and says, instead of obsessing over whether we literally live in a simulation, something we may never be able to prove or disprove, it might be more productive to ask a different question. Can we model the universe as a kind of computation? That question leads to real science, using computers to simulate physics, galaxies, climate, and even parts of the brain. We already do this today, and it doesn't require believing we're inside a simulation. Only that simulations are powerful tools for understanding reality. So you've got a spectrum. On one end, we're almost certainly in a simulation. On the other, this isn't even a meaningful question. In the middle, it's an interesting possibility, but we might never know. Recently, Nick Bostrom has been revisiting his ideas in the context of AI and digital minds. He's warned that as AI grows more powerful, we might eventually create large numbers of digital beings, simulated agents that might be conscious. That raises ethical questions. Would those digital minds have rights? Could they be the ones living in simulations run by us? Bostrom has suggested that if we ever do create countless digital minds and simulations, we'd have to rethink self-worth and dignity, because being real versus being simulated might not be the most important distinction anymore. And here's the kicker. If future civilizations are more and more digital, that actually strengthens one of Bostrom's original points, that advanced civilizations could run huge numbers of simulations, which loops us right back to his trilemma. Time for the big question. Are we actually living in a simulation? Here's the most honest, science-based answer we have right now. We don't know. We might never be able to know for sure. But thinking about it teaches us a lot about physics, information, AI, and consciousness. The simulation theory forces us to ask, how powerful can computers get? What is consciousness really? What counts as real? The hardware underneath or the experiences on top? Even if we discover tomorrow that we're 100% simulated, your feelings, your relationships, your goals would still be your reality. Just like Chalmers argues. On the flip side, if we're not in a simulation, we're still tiny creatures on a rock orbiting a star in a galaxy among billions, and that's already pretty wild. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 24 hours, live as if both are true. Maybe this is base reality. Maybe it's a simulation. In both cases, the way you treat people matters. The things you learn matter. The choices you make shape your story. Because whether you're made of atoms or bits, you're still the main character of your experience. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. If you found out for sure that this is all a simulation, would you live differently? And if you want more videos where we take impossible ideas and break them down in a fun, science-based way, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who definitely thinks they're an NPC. Until next time, stay curious, and don't forget to save your progress.